Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood, and today we're going to be learning all about Thanksgiving. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. When you close your eyes and picture a pilgrim from the first Thanksgiving, what do you see? Most of us picture them wearing tall hats and black shoes featuring large, shiny metal buckles. The image is on almost every Thanksgiving decoration in America, but was that the real style of the day? Or have people been dressing the pilgrims wrong for centuries? What do you think? Did the pilgrims really wear big buckles on everything, including their hats? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Today's word is cornucopia. That's cornucopia. A cornucopia, often called the horn of plenty, is a symbol of abundance and nourishment, commonly shaped like a large goat's horn and overflowing with produce, flowers, or nuts. You have likely seen this image centered on dining room tables or printed on festive napkins during the Thanksgiving season. In modern times, it serves as a visual representation of a successful harvest and the gratitude we feel for having enough food to eat through the coming winter. The symbol's been around for a long time, in art and architecture for thousands of years, representing prosperity and good fortune. The word cornucopia comes from classic Latin roots. There are two separate pieces. Cornu means horn, and copia means plenty or abundance. And the story of the horn of plenty goes back to Greek mythology with the god Zeus. According to the myth, the infant Zeus was cared for by a goat named Amalthea who fed him milk. In a display of divine strength, Zeus accidentally broke off one of her horns, which then had the magical power to provide unending nourishment to whoever held it. Over the centuries, this horn of plenty transitioned from mythology into a general cultural icon for the autumn harvest and eventually became the staple of American Thanksgiving decor. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about Thanksgiving. Number 1. President Franklin D. Roosevelt once tried to move the date of Thanksgiving to boost the economy. For a long time, it was a tradition established by Abraham Lincoln to celebrate Thanksgiving on the last Thursday of November, but in 1939, that last Thursday fell at the very end of the month. President Roosevelt worried that this would shorten the Christmas shopping season, which could hurt retail sales during the Great Depression. He issued a proclamation moving the holiday up 1 week to the third Thursday of the month to give people more time to buy gifts. This decision was incredibly controversial, causing confusion and even anger across the country. Some politicians and citizens mockingly referred to the new date as Franksgiving and refused to celebrate it, creating a split where half the country celebrated on the new date and the other half waited for the traditional date. After 2 years of confusion, Congress stepped in. In 1941, they passed a law officially setting Thanksgiving as the 4th Thursday in November. Number 2. Fresh cranberries are so bouncy, farmers use a bounce test to grade them. When you take a fresh, raw cranberry and drop it on a hard surface, it'll bounce back up like a small rubber ball. This happens because cranberries contain small air pockets inside them, which is also what allows them to float when farmers flood the bogs for wet harvesting. This natural buoyancy is a key indicator of the fruit's structural integrity and ripeness. Farmers and food processors have used this bouncing capability as a quality control measure for over 100 years. A man named John Webb, referred to as the Cranberry King, first noticed how bouncy cranberries could be back in the 1800s when he poured his crop down some stairs and noticed the good cranberries reached the bottom while the bad ones stayed on the steps. Today, processing machines use wooden barriers that the berries have to bounce over. If the berry's rotten or damaged, it will not have the spring required to make the jump, and it's discarded. Number 3. The food served at the first Thanksgiving was very different from what we consider to be the traditional Thanksgiving staples today. While we center our modern meal around turkey, stuffing, and mashed potatoes, the 1621 feast between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people was much more focused on local wildlife. Historical records suggest that the Wampanoag guests brought 5 deer to the feast, making venison a primary protein for the 3-day celebration. They also likely ate a lot of seafood, including lobsters, clams, and eels, which were abundant in the coastal Massachusetts region at the time. Probably the most shocking difference to a lot of people would be that there was no pumpkin pie at the first Thanksgiving table. While they did have pumpkins, the settlers didn't have access to butter or wheat flour to make a flaky crust. They also didn't have baking ovens constructed yet. It's believed they might have hollowed out pumpkins, filled them with milk and spices, and roasted them directly on the hot ashes of a fire to make a custard. The sweet baked goods we love today were just not possible to create with the tools and ingredients they had available back in 1621. Number 4. The invention of the TV dinner was the direct result of a Thanksgiving mishap. In 1953, a buyer for the Swanson Food Company drastically overestimated how much turkey Americans would eat that year and ordered too many birds. The company found themselves with 260 tons of frozen turkey left over after the holiday, and that was a huge logistical concern and a financial nightmare. The meat was sitting in refrigerated railroad cars, and the company had to figure out a way to use it before it spoiled. A salesman named Jerry Thomas pitched an idea inspired by the neatly compartmentalized trays used for airline food. He suggested slicing the turkey and packaging it with cornbread dressing, peas, and sweet potatoes, all in an aluminum tray that could be heated in an oven. Swanson produced 5,000 of these TV dinners, and they were an instant sensation, changing the way Americans ate dinner for decades to come. And our 5th and final fun fact for today: even astronauts in orbit make time to celebrate Thanksgiving with a special meal. Being thousands of miles away from Earth doesn't stop NASA astronauts from participating in the American tradition, although the food preparation looks a bit different. The tradition began in 1973 aboard the Skylab space station when the crew of the Skylab 4 mission consumed a turkey dinner after a long day of work. Since gravity is not available to keep food on the plate, the experience isn't really about sitting at a table, it's more like managing floating pouches of food. Modern space food scientists, yep, that's a thing, they've worked hard to make the meal as comforting as possible, providing irradiated smoked turkey, thermostabilized candied yams, and freeze-dried cornbread dressing. They can't have traditional bread or rolls, though, because the crumbs would float away and could damage sensitive equipment or get in the astronauts' eyes. Despite the technical limitations, taking time to share a meal and express gratitude helps the crew maintain a psychological connection with their families and traditions from back home. Now for some news you can use. The Thanksgiving meal is fantastic, but a lot of people love the leftovers just as much. Here's a little trick to try with your leftover stuffing. Use a waffle iron to reheat it. The day after Thanksgiving, take your cold leftover stuffing and place a scoop of it onto a preheated greased waffle iron. Cook it for about 4 or 5 minutes until it's golden brown and crispy on the outside. It solves the problem of soggy leftovers by maximizing the surface area that touches the heat. The waffle iron creates crispy edges and ridges that are perfect for trapping gravy or cranberry sauce, giving the stuffing a delightful new texture that some say is even better than when it was first baked. So break out the waffle iron for a savory, crunchy twist on everyone's favorite side dish from Thanksgiving when you're having your Black Friday brunch. Now for the moment you've been waiting for. Earlier in the episode, I asked, do you think pilgrims really wore those famous buckles on their hats and shoes? Well, that's a fallacy. In the early 17th century, buckles were actually a symbol of wealth and high fashion, like expensive jewelry. They didn't become popular until decades after the Pilgrims landed. The Pilgrims were actually quite poor and practical. They used simple leather laces to tie their shoes and keep their clothes together. Also, they didn't wear just black. Historical records showed their wardrobes included red, earth greens, browns, even violet. The image of pilgrims in buckles was created by artists in the 19th century who were romanticizing the past. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about Thanksgiving with me today. I'm thankful for all of you who have taken the time to listen and helped the show grow. Be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts.
Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.